affect us in the construction industry. As we know, over the last couple of weeks, we have had many incidents of women falling victim to gender-based violence, and there have been various marches and incidents happening all over the country. Before we start our session, I would like us to start with a silent prayer for the women who have fallen victim to gender-based violence. Amen. Ladies, we are here to talk about various issues affecting us. As they say, if you empower a woman, you actually empower a village. It is women who raise children. It is women who keep homes going when the men are working in farms. But today we are here to talk about things that we can do as government. I will first start by introducing myself. I am Luyanda Kafile, who works in the Department of Human Settlements, KwaZulu-Natal, as an acting chief director in the project management unit. Ladies, before we get ahead with our program, we know the construction industry is a male-dominated industry, and government has been trying to get women, empowered women into the programs. So we are going to talk about such things today. But I will allow a guest to welcome us and also give us the purpose of the day, to give us what is going to happen throughout this session and what we are hoping to achieve when we leave the session in the next 2 hours. I will welcome DDG Mr. Duma from the Department of Public Works, who is the current acting HOD, to speak to us and give us a brief of what is happening today.
Thank you, Luyanda, for the opportunity. As I have already been introduced, my name is Piwayo Duma. I'm currently the head of corporate services in the Department of Public Works, and I happen to be privileged to champion as well as to steer the wheel of the Department of Public Works for only a week. That is, HOD is on leave and will be back Monday. That's Dr. Sharpley. Let me say that I'm very much privileged to have been invited to say a few words and actually give direction in terms of what we're supposed to achieve and why we are here. But I will be failing in my duty if I don't extend my condolences, as Luyanda indicated, to those women who had passed on through COVID-19, as well as those that have passed on through gender-based violence. And it was very painful when I was driving up here and I'm listening to Ukozi and I indicating how many women have been killed inside 48 hours. And the more we talk about it and hope we are going to get it out of the way and do something, the worse it becomes. And as a Christian, it says to me, it boils down to what God said in the Bible when he said, the more we sin, the more we are going to have problems. We are going to end up killing one another. You will be attacked by incurable diseases and will start killing one another. And therefore, I'm saying, having said all that and having done everything, I still believe as a person who grew up in a Christian family that we still need to talk to God, that we have sinned enough and be with us. Because I don't think there is a way we can do everything. We can arrest people and whatever, Others kill others, and then when they're arrested the next morning, they've killed themselves. The question that one needs to ask, how was it possible for this man to get a rope inside? Because we are checked and everything. So there's something wrong with the whole system, but I'm not here to talk about that. Mine is just to record that. But also to say to you, my dear sisters, as a person who was born out of a woman, I know the role that you are playing as women. And therefore, if I get an opportunity to say something to women, I take pride. And I'm one of the privileged person at my age that I've still got a mother who's still doing and whatever. And I'm fighting with all the members of the family when they tell me they've been out, went to a gathering I said, please, when you go out to town, make sure that you think about that old woman who's 87 years. Because for what the mom, the lady has done to me as her son, my father is late, he passed on for 2014. I normally say to them, I would love if she goes first, that I should give her a dignified funeral in a way that I would have loved as her son. Because if she dies of COVID, you know what is happening. So please, let's look at those things and pray. But we're not here. I don't want to ask you. Let me first also indicate also that my MSc would have loved to be here and say a few words to you. She has said to me, I must tell you that how much she loves you. Unfortunately, because of this COVID, they are here. She's not far. They are here in Stenger Hospital. But because of the program, they need to hand over a quarantine facility, Department of Health, which will then be open. So she knows that I'm here, but she said I must convey her words of saying she loves you, not because it's Women Month, but she loves you because you play a key role as women. Women, the moment we get paid something, the first thing that we think about is how we're going to entertain our friends with the money that we're being paid, most of us. But women, the moment they get money, they think about how the things that I can do for my family. That I've experienced in the mom that make us grow up. We do take pride. I know that women in general do take pride in making a difference in any environment where they are. And I think we have honored this invitation because you want to make a difference, not only in your family, but the difference in the environment and make a meaningful contribution. So this is an opportunity today, while we need to brag about good things that we have done as women, but we also look at what are the things that we have not done, where are the areas where we can actually improve. Therefore, dear sisters, we are gathered here to share experiences and challenges, particularly with regard to what has happened to COVID-19. I happen to be related to people who were working prior COVID-19. And I have got experience where a number of them have gone out of employment because the industry cannot cope with them because we just have not done. And I can indirectly feel the pain of them having lost the job, because what it takes then, it means some of my sisters and nephews are now in Swaiman where I'm staying, and they want to share the very sack of meal and everything that I'm giving to my mom so that she can. That's what is happening. The reality is that the system has changed, the environment has changed to such an extent that we need to come up with something. But one thing that I want to say to you, don't get discouraged. Sometimes you tread an environment so that when you are out that other side, you begin to appreciate that wait not for you. You begin to appreciate what God has done for you or what the environment has done for you, because you have experienced the pain. And therefore, when you cross, so you begin to appreciate something when we have had some kind of hardship in getting through it. But anything that comes as sweet, no one values it. That is why I normally say, with due respect to our sisters and our daughters, if you go along the street and you find this a man starting talking to you, and this person tells you, I love you. And then immediately within that time, this man says he loves you, you fall. Now, the question is, how does a person begin to love you for that minute, and then you fall in love, and you expect this person to respect you in the future? Because you are an easy go, and you have been an easy come. That's why I'm saying our mothers could sustain their marriage, because our fathers had to struggle, proposing to them, take years or 2 years proposing. It was not because they were impossible. They wanted to understand this creature of a man. What kind of a man this person? Because you like it or not, you might try to wear a sheepskin, but somewhere during the process, the hyena will come out. But where do you get the hyena? Where do you see the hyena if you fall in love within hours? And that is why. I'm not saying we have done that. I'm just making general things and whatever. I used to joke with Mrs. Dome and say, I met you, I saw you in Matateni, and I asked you where you were and whatever. And you said you were in Ingutu. And I asked, where do I said no. Fortunately for me, there was a relative in Ingutu, a hospital, CJM, who met, I said, Trace so and so. But I can't count how many trips I traveled to Ngutu from Ulundi. I was in Ulundi at the time. Just to go and tell her, what is it? Hey, man. And I'm saying maybe that's right thing. So I'm saying, ladies, you're going through a very painful exercise where we don't appreciate you as men. But here we are coming here to tell you we appreciate you as two departments. We know the value that you are adding. So we're giving you an opportunity to begin to look at the two programs that we have in these two departments. We happen to be Ama twins, Tina. That's one fortunate thing about us, Public Works and Human Settlement. We are twins, we share. We suck from one mother, which is Umama Nkonyen. And we're very proud to have a woman leading us. And that woman, I can tell you, she's very grounded politically and administratively. When things are not going, she will tell, this is not happening. But I'm very proud to be part of a department that's led by Umama Nkonyen. And I think we should be proud to say she's very much willing. Anywhere she talks about socio-economic transformation. Particularly, she wants women to be seen there. Please use this opportunity then to tell us what is it that we're not doing well in terms of our programs, Yaka and ACSW. Based on your input, we can then be able to improve on what we are doing. But one thing that I say, there are two things which are important for you to make a difference. The first one is prayer. The first one is prayer. If you pray, I can tell you prayer can open doors. And I wonder sometimes when you see people go and say they are praying and they start shouting at God, "Oh God, and you are shouting at God. This is your Father. You are shouting. Why? Why are you doing that to God? But God, the Son of God, said to us, when you find there's time for you to pray, there's only pray that we need to say. The most important one, Elena Eti, Baba Wetu Osezului. Now you can shout and cry and whatever you do. I've seen them. And then somebody, my son was asking me, so I'm going to finish now, was asking me, Baba, when I talk to you, I talk to you with respect, I don't shout. How on earth when the big father, people are praying to the big father and start shouting? I know is what you call electricity and emotions, but you should not be emotional to such an extent that you shout at God. I think we need to go back and kneel to God and stay and remember the most important prayer, Baba way to Zulu. And then you've got all things that are coming. So and that's a prayer. The second one, which I think we need to be, I'm asking you to do, colleagues, as I'm about to close, mentoring. Please. I've seen people that I took as a messenger. There's one guy who's in humans, who is in arts and culture. I took him as a messenger when I was in the Office of Prima as HR manager. And then that man today is a deputy director, but so through mentoring and guiding the person. So please mentor one another. You take pride if you see somebody that is growing, when you've changed the life of a person. So please stick to prayer and make sure that you mentor others. With those words, have a successful session, and we hope through the MSc we'll look at whatever recommendations you're making. And if the financial muscle allows, you'll see the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duma. That has been a mouthful, and I believe all of us as ladies, we have heard what you are saying to us.
Thank you.
It is now upon us to move ahead. If MEC was here, one of the things she would probably be talking about is how we got to have what we call Women's Month.
Yeah.
We may all know the history behind the 9th of August, where women decided they've had enough of the oppression, having to carry passes. And they stood up and said, this is it. Today, this ends. Now, there's a lesson that we have to learn from that. The men were never consulted. The women just decided, today we are fighting.
Yeah.
So as women, it is up to us to take the space. It will never be given to us. Men will keep on saying, women take up the space while they are occupying all of the space. But they keep on saying to us, we must get ahead. But it is up to us to say, I am claiming my seat in the boardroom table. If there is no seat, as long as you are in the boardroom, even standing, just make sure that you are there. That is the purpose of us meeting in this month, having so many programs to remind ourselves that we have got to fight for our rights. If we do not submit those applications for the jobs, applications for tenders as we are in the construction industry, no one will take us seriously until we step up and say, no one is going to come and knock in your house and say, look, there is a job opportunity. You've got to stand up and say, okay, there is a Department of Public Works that is led by a woman who is very passionate about women empowerment. A year ago, we had a session with the MEC where she said, I want to see women in the construction industry. Let us talk about what we want to do. And we had resolutions stemming from that conversation. This year, she has been going around checking how far have we gone in terms of the resolutions that were taken. That shows how serious our MEC is. And when we as officials keep on dilly-dallying that, no, MEC, we have not moved much, we have to explain ourselves. So as women contractors, we have to take the space. Those who are online will not know who we are sitting with here. We are sitting with women contractors from Ilembe district. It is so nice to see a mixture of young and old women, not necessarily old, I would say matured, who have gone through serious things in life to get to be here. It's a mixture of women, some who've had experience of the worst time in apartheid. And yet there are women who are young, did not experience much of the worst times of it. But we are here today to say these are the opportunities offered by the two departments. The Department of Public Works has the ASC's program that aims to empower contractors. It is not only women that are empowered in that particular program, but for now we are focusing on the women that we have there. The Department of Human Settlements came a bit late into the game, and we developed a program as well, SIACA, Contractor Development Program. We will be using that program to empower women, because over the years there have been complaints that only the big companies that are fully established in the construction industry are getting tenders for building houses and other human settlements projects. And we know that our women need those jobs. Women are quite skilled in managing various portfolios. You will see how organizations are transformed when they are led by women, because we've got that feminine touch. So it's quite comes naturally for us to care for people while ensuring that work is done. So as we are going to sit here today, we are going to hear what the two programs from the departments are going to offer us. Once they have done that, the two directors will present to us what they are offering. We should also be thinking among ourselves while they are doing the presentations. This year has been a very different year. We've had COVID. A year ago, we would not have imagined that we would have such a pandemic. COVID has led to many people losing their jobs. We are seeing day in and day out companies closing. Yet we are here to say, what can we do as women? Yes, we've got these challenges, companies are closing down. There is an impact that has come to us as women, especially contractors through COVID-19. Let us talk about those. Let us talk about how it has affected us in our own businesses. Some of us have had to lay off staff. Our projects have been on hold because of the lockdown. What impact has that had on us? Also, if we're looking at that, if we have government programs that are meant to empower women, how are these programs structured? Are these programs structured in such a manner that they are actually helping us? What ideas can we as women say, this is the proposal that we need to change? We need to change certain things because COVID is forcing us to change how we normally do things. In a normal setting, we would be sitting maybe in a room full of 100 or 200 women. But unfortunately, because we have this pandemic, we have to meet online. We never used to have such sessions online, but we have to now think out of the box. We want to keep as few people as possible in the room, however, reach as many as possible. Hence, we are streaming this session live on our Facebook pages for the department. So our session today is to say, let us look at what can change, how we can assist, use our natural instincts, our God-given powers to change the dynamic in the construction industry to favor us as women. If we do not do it, we will be left in the lurches. So, ladies, I will ask that in the meantime, let us start thinking. I will ask Ukdeli and Umdu Ndlozi from the Department of Human Settlements to give us the presentations that talk to us to say, what are the two departments offering us? Then when we are done with that, we will have discussions in terms of what they are offering. I will hand over to you, Dave.
A very good morning. Thank you, facilitator, for this session and your opening words, which are so powerful, especially to us as women today. I just want to take this opportunity and thank our acting HOD, DDG Duma, for welcoming us, as well as giving the purpose of the day. Which is very clear to say we have women contractors from both departments, which is Human Settlements and Public Works, but also who belong to the programs that we run for women contractors or all contractors, which is ASC, so a Contractor Development Program, as well as SIACA Incubation Program, which is a program by Human Settlements. I'm Delisile Mncube, Director Youth, Women and People with Disabilities, who's responsible to ensure that designated groups, especially women, youth, and people with disabilities, including military veterans, do benefit from programs that we run as a department. I'm going to be running through a presentation by the Department of Public Works on the programs that we have, especially for the designated group, which include women. So I'm going to start with that one. But before I start, I know we have women contractors in this room. So I just want to say, Phambili ngembokodo phambili. Phambili ngembokodo phambili. Phambili ngabafazi phambili. Phambili ngabafazi phambili. It is such a pleasure to have women contractors who are in this field that has been in the past dominated by males. So to see women in the construction field is such a fresh breath for us as women. I'll start with presenting the programs we have. As a Department of Public Works, there are various programs that we have that ensure that women do participate. The first and foremost program that I'm going to speak about is the ASIZwe Contractor Development Program, which is our flagship program as a department. The program started in 2015, whereby the MEC then launched the program for all contractors. But over the years, we've gone through phase 1, we've gone through phase 2, but now we are going to be going to phase 3, whereby we said the focus on this phase has to be mainly the designated group, which are women, youth, military veterans, and people with disabilities. So those are the groups that we want to see more participating in the program. Currently, we are in phase 2 as a department, whereby we have contractors, which are a total number of 3,186 registered on the contractors database. In that database, we have about 1,481 women contractors and 1,415 youth contractors registered on the database. And to date, especially in the financial year 2019-20, we've spent about 87.3 million worth of projects awarded only to the ASIZwe Contractor Development, not counting all the other big infrastructure programs whereby other women do benefit from it. But just focusing on this program, to date, we've just spent 87.3 million in this financial year. And then from those projects, we've got about 279 projects which were awarded. And within the 279, 100 were awarded to youth, including women, and then specifically to women, we have 51 projects that were awarded. We're starting from April to date. And then again, last year, we advertised or invited more contractors to register to be in ASIZwe Phase 3. We are moving to ASIZwe Phase 3 as the department, and we've advertised and we received a very high number of applications, which shows that a lot of people want to get into the construction field, and a lot of them did not have the opportunity. So by that high volume of applications received, we saw as the department that it's important for us to really include our contractors in terms of our planning and our implementation, because the program needs to benefit them more importantly. So that is why we have such sessions. Last year we had a women's summit whereby we had about 330 women participating, whereby there were a number of subjects that were discussed to how do we improve the ASIZwe program in particular, because that's the program that we have as the department targeted at women contractors. From those resolutions that we held last year, we've been implementing as the department. Hence, Phase 3 was one of the resolutions that came out of from that summit to say more contractors need to get into the database. So the department has taken a resolution to say Phase 3 will remain open until 2024, so that as and when contractors are ready to register on the database, they can, which was not the case in the previous years. Okay, and then the ASIZwe Contractor Development Program is district-based, meaning that each contractor registers at the district that they are based in, so that we ensure that there's localization and local benefits for each a contractor. We've divided our awards. I'll just mention a few. For eThekwini region, for the 87.3 million, 5.8 million went to eThekwini region, which includes Ilembe district, and then 26.5 million went to Midlands region. Those are the projects that were implemented there. North Coast region, the projects that were implemented there amounted to 37.7 million. And then in Southern region, they went up to 17.3 million, which makes up the total of 87.3 million. And then for women contractors, 26.6 million was projects that were awarded to women contractors. The ASISA program does not only offer project awards, but we also run trainings because it's a developmental program whereby we seek to empower and capacitate contractors to move from a CIDP level 1 to 6, because those are the contractors that we are dealing with at ASISA program. So we run trainings. So far, in the past 5 years, we've trained about 1,756 contractors within the program, and 1,115 contractors have benefited from the program overall. And then as the department, in this financial year, we said, let's see more projects being ring-fenced towards the different designated groups we have as a department. And we said to do that, we need to ensure that in our annual performance plan, we have projects targeting the different designated groups, so that at the end of the day, we ensure that these designated groups do benefit. So we have a 5-year plan where we have set aside different programs, and I'll just focus on projects that have been set aside for women in the next financial years. For this year, because of COVID-19, we had a bigger number, but we had to revise the numbers due to COVID-19 challenges, which is something that we're going to speak more on in this session. We said we're going to target at least 50. There can be more for this financial year, but in the next financial year, we have about 175 projects that are just targeting women, this is the minimum. And then the other financial years, we've got 200, and in the 2023-2024 financial year, we've got about 250 projects that we're saying we want to see women benefiting from infrastructure projects. And then we have other projects or programs that we have as a department besides ASISA program. I will not zoom into, I'll just highlight. We have our bursaries, we have our work integrated learning program, and we have our internships. Even with that one, we say we want to see more women participate in those programs, whereby we've put 60% women as a benchmark to say, in the overall program, we want to see 60% benefiting from those programs. And then we have our expanded public works program. Maybe to highlight, the Department of Public Works is the provincial coordinator when it comes to expanded public works, meaning that they coordinate even with other departments as well as municipalities to ensure that they implement the program in a right format, as well as are they reaching the targeted beneficiaries. And within that program, we are saying 60% should participate in the expanded public works program should be women, and then youth 55%, and people with disabilities, we're sitting at 7%. So we are emphasizing that when beneficiaries are being identified, women should form the most percentage. And then as the department, in the last financial year for expanded public works program, we created 6,000 work opportunities. And within that 6,000, we found that more women benefited or were participants in that program. And then we have another program which is at the heart of our Honorable MEC, the transformation of property management. This program, the reason it's in her heart a lot is that we've been seeing that a lot of designated groups have not been participating in property, especially our fellow African beneficiaries. And as the department, we said we need to rectify this going forward to see more African and women participating in this sphere or in this space of property management. So as the department, our property management functions are to provide and facilitate the provision of the office accommodation and integrated property management services to user departments through planned property life cycle. It also is to ensure the optimal utilization of state immovable assets as well as provide immovable assets register and the maintenance of fixed assets register, payment of property rates, and contribution to the integrated service delivery. But the major challenges that has been faced by this sector, number one, is the monopoly, the monopoly that is inexistent in the leasing sector, which is what I was speaking about, that you find that it's the same people who are benefiting, and you find that they are not mostly African people. And then again, the transformation of the property sector has been quite a challenge, because as much as we want to see more African people, we find that they do not have the resources to participate meaningfully in this property sector. Again, the other issue has been the value for money, whereby the cost of purchase, when you compare it to developing and the building of leases, state-owned and versus leased properties, you find that there is no balance. And then lastly, the poor condition of leased buildings, resulting in dissatisfaction by user departments. Those are the major challenges that we've been facing as the department in terms of transforming the property sector. But the department has said we want to take strides to ensure that we overcome these challenges, and we've come up with a turnaround strategy to ensure that we see more designated groups participating in this space, and we see more African people participating in such a space. So I'm just going to say there's few points that we've raised as the department to ensure that we see the transformation that we want to see in this space. The proposed turnaround strategy, especially when it comes to leases, we want to ensure that an equitable share of opportunities are being granted to designated groups by introducing conditions in tender documents to prevent same landlords obtaining leases. So we are going to be analyzing when we receive bids to say, is it the same landlord who's been given the same contracts? We want to see diversity and more people participating in terms of the leases that the department is issuing. And then again, as the department, we said we want to see an increased participation by Black, Africans, and other vulnerable groups, which includes women, people with disabilities, and youth in the property leasing sector, by introducing a procurement conditions requiring the lessors to partner with members of these groups. So we are saying, as the department, even if the vulnerable groups do not have the strength, then they should partner at least with the main lease lessor, so that they can learn and be mentored into the property sector. And then again, identifying the provincial and district needs and advertising a bulk need to ascertain what the market has to offer. And then the other turnaround strategy is we want to see improvement in terms of the improved enforcement of leases by holding non-performing landlords accountable by placing them in breach for failure to maintain buildings, as well as imposing penalties and cancelling leases where feasible. That's another major challenge that we've seen as a department, whereby you find that even these spaces that people are leasing are not in a good condition, but you find that there's no follow-up in terms of making sure that the landlords do account for their aspects. So the department is strengthening that aspect of things, whereby non-performance is penalized and taken into consideration. And then the next one is timeous advertising and adjudication of lease tenders to force competition and obtain value for money. That's what the department is saying. We want to ensure that value for money we are receiving as the department when we enter into these agreements. And then longer lease periods for full benefit to be realized by emerging lessors. With that one, it talks to the emerging contractors, finding that they enter into a shorter periods, whereby when you find that the lease ends before they can even make profits from those agreements. And we are saying, as the department, we want to see longer leases so that emerging contractors can benefit, whereby over a long time, that's when you realize your profits when you've been in the agreement. And then coming to the end of my presentation. The long Hi, can you hear us now?
Thank you very much, Program Director, Ms. Leanda Gafile, and good morning to the colleagues, the acting HOD, Mr. Duma, the colleagues who are here, and obviously the businesses owned by women who are obviously our most precious guests today. My name is Mduduzi Ndlozi. I work for the Department of Human Settlements. Under a unit called Youth, Women, People with Disabilities and Military Veterans Empowerment. I would obviously also, as the program director said, share what the department is trying to do in terms of empowerment of women-owned companies. And obviously, as my sister said from Public Works, that as much as today's program is focusing solely on women-owned businesses, we are obviously also looking at other designated groups. I think that's why you will also notice that our designation is very long and confusing sometimes, but it's really just designated groups. Before maybe I start with my presentation, Program Director, I wanted to tell a story because I believe stories, it's easy for us to relate to them and we do not forget them easily. Under a theme that, the participation of women-owned businesses in the built environment is possible. So as much as we may look at the numbers, and the numbers are not what we want to see, but it is possible. And the story goes that on the 22nd of this month, we went to an area in eThekwini called Umzinyathi under Ward 3, where we're handing over a house that was built by a women-owned company. And the women who built the house, it's young women who are still at the ages of between 25 and 30. And the house complied with all the regulations and the building standards. In fact, if you go and look at that house and compare it to some of the houses we built, you'll see that the standard and compliance is very high. I'm sharing this story, Program Director, because I want us to understand that as much as it may seem impossible, but it is possible, and there are other women who are already in the space and they are making it possible. Maybe just, I will not spend lots of time. I just want to present or to make a presentation that looks at where we are currently, what is permissible and not permissible, so that when we go forward in terms of our presentation or discussions, we can then say, okay, this is what it is currently, and then this is what we can improve from the current going forward into the future. And obviously, we would know that whatever we do, we should be guided. I've said in a number of meetings where the inclination is that maybe the policy and legislative framework is not permitting us, but when you go and look at the legal opinion that was obtained by the CIDP, you will know that we are actually, as government, permissible to identify projects that by their very nature can allow us to develop emerging businesses. We can also, within our budget, make an allocation where we can then say and take a resolute decision to say that this budget is for developmental purposes. And also then we develop what we call contractor development panels, where within those panels then we allow the companies who have been successful to compete among themselves, so that we can get the value for money, so that we can develop them. So it is there. the legislative framework allows us. There is also an instruction note on the application for deviation from the normal processes in terms of the paragraph 5 of the Contractor Development Program in terms of the CIDP, and also the Supply Chain Practice Note 3 of 2003, which allows, as I said, for us to develop panels that would have emerging companies who would then participate in any development program. And of course, we have what I think everyone is comfortable with in terms of the Preferential Procurement Framework Act, which has got the pre-qualification criteria, which obviously I'm not sure if with my sister here we've used that much, but it is allowed. And also, I think as a department, we have a policy framework which says that in our bid document, our normal bid document or our quotations, where we can then prescribe an element of enterprise development in order to achieve what we are here for, the radical economic transformation. So I just wanted to share this, that currently where we see the legislative framework and the policy guidelines that we have, they do allow us to focus on enterprise development. Whether we look at this and develop programs that allow us to empower businesses as we understand the empowerment, it is something that we need to discuss in this meeting and come up with solutions. But the legislative framework and policies are there to allow us to do that. And also, just to share that I think what we're doing as departments obviously is not something that is exceptional or is isolated to what is happening elsewhere. That's why you'll see that we also take cue from what the province of KwaZulu-Natal is doing in terms of radical economic transformation, but also on the directives that we get from the national department. That's why you'll see that in terms of our economic transformation objectives, it links to what we have as an umbrella program in KwaZulu-Natal, which is Operation Vula. I'm sure our women businesses here are aware of that program, because really it then puts this issue of transformation at the fore, and it looks at all the different sectors and commodities that we need to focus on as departments to ensure that we then open up spaces for emerging businesses. But also from those transformation objectives, we then focus specifically in terms of what we are doing as the sector in terms of the built environment and human settlements, to say that the way we understand empowerment is not necessarily just saying, no, I've allocated you 10 houses and you've built those, then that means we've empowered you. But it spans more than that, because at the end of the day, we understand empowerment as building resilient and sustainable businesses. So it would be nice one day that we can maybe meet somewhere in another forum and you tell us that, no, I'm actually the lady who said in that panel discussion in 2020, and that will be 2030, and you're still there as a sustainable business who would have grown from this process to become a business that can compete within this sector, but also other sectors, because as a business, you have to look at the opportunities that are available and be able to exploit those. So we do not just want contractors, but we want sustainable businesses, and we are hoping by engaging like this, you can then give us some of the workable solutions that we can look at and try to factor them into our programs. And also just to share that in terms of empowerment, you will see in the Operation Vula framework that they have 6 pillars which look at the contractor development. And I think from what Mrs. Mngube has presented in terms of ASCs and what we have as SIACA incubation program, you'll see that Pillar 1, we've sort of covered it. The program director did indicate that as human settlements, we seem to have come late into the party, but program director, I think we want to emphasize that we are here and we are committed to assisting emerging businesses prosper. Then there's also incubation and mentorship, which I think is very important, because as much as I'm saying, we need to allocate work to emerging businesses, but we also need to be able to take those businesses step by step so that they understand after soft issues in terms of business management, financial management, and all those, so that by the time you are allocated monies, then we do not come back and then still discuss the same issue of, oh, you got money and then went elsewhere, then the work could not continue. Then the issue of construction material manufacturing and support, which I think a program director remains a landscape that we've not mastered enough, but you'll see in this presentation that as a department, as both departments, in fact, we're at the point where we want to explore the space and see how we can open up opportunities to ensure that our black manufacturers, in terms of material, can benefit and can also enter into the space so that we benefit our people. There's also the issue of material equipment and supply support. I think contractors will know that if you do not have access to the equipment, then it becomes difficult really to play in the space. So we also want to look at which companies or which terms of the social demographic, which race has got all these equipment in terms of construction, and if it's not the designated groups that we want to empower, how do we then open up that space so that the groups that we want to enter into the space can play into that space? And then there's also the issue of distribution and logistics, another issue that we've not explored that much, program director, but we know that it is a space that we need to get into. For instance, if you are allocated units in Nongoma and you're only getting your cement or your blocks in eThekwini, how do we then get those and transport them there? And obviously, if you do not have the fleet to do that, then it means you still have to take out the money that would have allocated to you and it goes elsewhere. And then the issue of emerging professionals, I think this one is obviously internal, but we are now also looking external, because the human settlements projects, or I'll say projects in the construction sector, do not just start with the house or the building of block of flats. It starts from planning, and we want to see who are those geotechs, who are the engineers who are there, so that we can change the space and have our people playing in this. In that. And just to share that, I know we might be talking to contractors, a program director, but just to share that the space is really wide. If you look at the value chain, you'll see that there's planning, there's material supply, there's construction, and there's also the issue of maintenance. And we all have to look at the opportunities in those and see how we can take up the opportunities. Now, in terms of the interventions to ensure that our women-owned businesses take up on these opportunities, what we've developed as a department is what is called a Siaka Incubation Program, which really wants to look at the existing emerging businesses and see how those emerging businesses can be incorporated into our value chain, so that they can benefit from our budget and procurement spend. But just to share that in terms of empowerment of designated groups, that's not the only thing we are doing. We also have the procurement reforms through panels, and you will see that most of our open procurement processes, you will see that we now include some of the prescripts from the Provincial Procurement Act, And then there's a material supply program, which I will also share just briefly. In the presentation, I will not go line by line, but you will see that in terms of the contractor development, we've moved quite a lot. In fact, we are now at the evaluation stage after we had put out a call of expression of interest sometime last year in November. And we managed to receive initially we had an incident program director where about 7,000 people gathered in one place, and then I think in line with the district development model, we then felt it was best that we then go out to all districts and ensure that we then talk to businesses there, and then they can respond to the call. We are finalizing evaluations, and we are hoping that in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will then communicate the details of companies who have been successful. But just to share the demographics, you will see that, as we said, we are committed, Chair, and you will see that from what we've received, the indication is that we will have women own businesses, quite a sizable amount of them who will be in our system, which obviously then means going forward it will be much easier for us to ensure that we benefit women-owned businesses. And in terms of the procurement reforms, you will see that we've now appointed about 58 companies that fall in the category of either an EME or QSE. In our thing, obviously in various disciplines. Then, in terms of material supply, as I said, we are still at the stage where we are trying to finalize the strategy. The strategy is at the advanced levels. We are finalizing now the strategic interventions in terms of what really needs to be done, and what we want to do is, because at the moment, we do not understand the space quite well. We want to have short-term, medium-term, and long-term interventions where we can say, maybe in the next year or two, what is it that we need to do to ensure that the material manufacturers and suppliers benefit, and what is it that needs to be done in the medium term, and then what needs to be done in the long term. But just to share, Chair, that at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we understand where, if we are using, let's say, sand, where is that sand coming from? We want to know who's manufacturing that sand or making it possible that we use it in our houses. We also want to check the issue of the transportation of material. We want to know who's transporting that material, who they are, where they are, and how can they get into the system. And also, just to share that we are obviously, as I said initially, we are working with other departments who are also in the space of empowering emerging businesses. So we want to look at the work that is being done by the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, so that once the strategy is developed and we know who are the material manufacturers, they can then partner with the district-based warehouses so that even some of the materials can be supplied there. I think in my presentation, Chair, as I was presenting, I did indicate some of the way forward, so I will end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndlozi and Delhi, for powerful presentations. Ladies, I do believe these presentations will help us to see what government is planning for women going forward. Now we must find a way forward. Some of the items that I have captured in these presentations is that while government is looking at empowering us now in the existing programs, but there is a futuristic approach in what has been presented to us. We are looking at government developing government precincts and moving away from the leasing of government offices. Now, what we should be asking ourselves as women contractors, when government is ready to start construction on those precincts, in KZN we have 11 districts. So there is a possibility that we are going to have construction running across the 11 districts. Will we and our companies be ready to take those opportunities? Let us not look at just what is available now. The aim of these programs is to say, in 3 or 4 years' time, when there is a massive rise in the economy, because we might have a slump at the moment, but the economy will grow. Are we going to be ready then to take those opportunities? Or are we going to let them pass us by? We are looking at the property management space. It's a space that none of us has been in. Very few African women have been involved in property management. Are we going to be ready? As the MEC is saying, here she has guided the Department of Public Works to start transforming the property management space. Do we have the skills and the capacity? If we do have a limitation of skills, have we identified where we might need additional skills? Have we identified the younger ladies that are still at university that are going to come out in the next year or two? Where will they find space? Those are the questions we should be talking about in this session. And also my Department of Human Settlements, we are only known for the RDP house. That is not all we offer. We have social housing that is dealing with building flats that are for rental. That space is a space we are not playing in. How do we ensure that we go there and we are ready to play in that space? Yes, it requires accreditation as a social housing institution. Where do we get that information? How do government programs help us? Can we not have a social housing institution? I remember a year ago at the Women's Summit, the MEC challenged the department to find African social housing institutions to get into the program because there was not a single one at that point. As we are speaking today, we have 5 social housing institutions in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, let us look a step further to say, how many are women? We've managed to get the African people into the space. Now let us manage to get women into the space and be players. We are not just go there to be the smaller players to get the crumbs. Let us try and do and get the maximum that we can achieve from government programs. Also, what Mr. Ntlose has talked about is the distribution and logistics of materials. A lot of the cost in the construction industry goes to materials, more than 50%. It's actually an average of about 70% of the cost of building something is for materials. We need to have a space there because materials come from mining. You might have in our localities, there are mines. Are we playing in that space, or is it something that we've just let it go to say it is only the women or it is only the men that are able to play in that space? We are in a space of COVID-19. How are we as women able to adapt to the conditions? We have not had this situation before, but unfortunately now, wherever you go, you must have a mask, you must have a sanitizer. So even in your own workplaces, in your own offices, you must provide those things for your employees. So it says to us, we must adapt. So ladies, as we are going to talk, let me introduce the panel so that we all know who is here today. We have Unonhlanhla Mcanyama from Letukukanya Construction. We have Standiwe Gebashe from Banopuma Construction Trading Enterprise. We have Thandi Sbisi from Side Point Trading. Muhle Thandeka Xulu, Situ Semenzi Contracting and Trading. We have Princess Gumede from Tuba Construction. We have Gugu Bonambi from Buyazi Partners. We have Thandeka Nxumalo from Isichaka Esingenamona Construction. We have Maureen Ncube, Masiqhame Trading. Tabile Shange, Asake Sonke Trading. Nomkhosi Zondi, Inkome Construction and Suppliers. Sibenontando Kunene from Square Trading Enterprise. So those are the women that we have here. We are going to have discussions. Ladies, this is the time that we must now analyze what has been presented to us. I will be giving you opportunities. First, as a start, let us discuss what has been the impact of COVID-19 in your space of work. Have you noticed any changes that you need to adapt to? Has it been an easy ride? Has it been easy? Is there anything that you would feel like government needs to be sensitive to those issues? So I'm giving that opportunity, ladies. Let us start talking about the challenges that we have. So you'll just raise your hand and I will allow each one of us to get a chance to talk about the challenges and be open about the challenges, because this is why we have a women's session. Let us leave men's challenges, see how the pandemic has affected us in the space that we are in. So I'm opening up the floor for you ladies to start contributing. What have been your challenges?
Construction. Yeah. And I have lots of challenges during COVID-19 because first I have 2 projects where I was supposed to start those projects. Yeah. So I didn't manage to start because there was a lockdown from the 26th of March. Since then, I stayed home and I'm renting an office. So after that, I couldn't manage to rent the office, but they say I must pay in between like half of the month, I must pay half. But what I noticed that you can't able to work on the office in future. You have to change and try to have a home office space so that you're able to deal with your work. And again, when you sit at home, you don't do anything, you can't move, you can't get income because of the construction and doing anything. It was my challenge, and then after the challenge, I thought, what else I can do in future so that I can manage to support my family or support my children so the children can go to school. This was one of the challenges in the construction industry, that stay at home country in the software.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That is fair challenges. We know the issues.
If it's not provided in this way, it's fine because on the day to live
just cover the mic lapha phambi kwakho.
Which one's working? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sanibonani nonke. Umpumelo from Banopuma and Usagana. As we all know, COVID, it just happened overnight. We were not expecting. It came like, we hear the rumors, this is our conduct down, but we didn't want to believe, but we took it, it's a rumor, there's a lot going on. And then we got the announcement, shut down everything. And, to be in a state where you can't do anything, you can't have any income. For us, to try and get credit. so that we can survive. Things that we did not plan to, because we have families and, we lost people as well. People, they had to leave work because they needed to be where they can, to be in the space where they can be able to sustain themselves. And we couldn't sustain abantu bethu. We had to open things like credit cards, because when you go to the bank and we are small contractors. When you try and apply for things like overdraft, and there was a lot that was going on. Things like the solidarity fund, there's funds that are there over UIF and what sorts of things that were not happening, but everyone was talking about these things, and when you apply, you don't get feedback that will take you to the level where you want to be, and you end up also credit taking credits. In our case, we applied for a credit card. Fortunately, I was the bank gave us 150,000. And semi you look down and somebody project is was your credit cards to be able to finish the project. This was a $1 million project. Otherwise, if we didn't have the credit card, we will be stuck with the project. This is something that Abantu cannot deliver. So it really it gave us a challenge. What to do really? What is it? What to expect? What to expect? We are in a space where there is a lot of confusion. You are not sure what is going to happen and how to deal with what you are facing. And okay, we are trying to stabilize ourselves, like see some opportunities where everything is down, and we are starting. Generally, we are doing our second project now. Every day I come over like a mushroom, in fact, we are doing damage control because someone has failed to do project housing. Is all we got given the whole breakdown, is the KZN, we did the quotation and everything. Prices have escalated, everything is so high. So it's like the person who is giving us this project did not go back and review the prices. Our prices the things are so high, spec has not been changed. So that is a challenge as well. You are expected to buy a door that is costing 1,000 rand now. Before lockdown, the door was costing probably 500 rand. So the price has gone up. The rate has not been adjusted. What do we do? You are like someone who doesn't know when's time. What does this are? Such that you just the society is all we had to literally do the project ourselves. We learned something. We said, you know what? We went and Googled YouTube. We said, how to do a ceiling board? So we went to Sanela, me and her, today because we couldn't get out of the project at a price that we can afford. And we can't turn down the project. That means we are not serious. So that is a challenge. The today is not matching with yesterday. And tomorrow is still not going to match as well. There is a big variance at corner, as if I see, and it's all in monetary value.
Oh, thank you so much for that input. It makes a lot of sense.
You spoke about e-property. I have always loved e-property. We started e-projects for 2018. It's private residential. Now, it's been a challenge. I think our steps are cornered, and I think I have followed all those steps. We have the technical team, we have everything. Probably, I would like everyone to have a curious. It's not a big project, but it's our passion. We are building our units. It's residential units. I know people would like to rent, but we decided, looking at the space everyone can afford to rent 10,000 rand. If you can afford to rent 10,000 rand, that means you can afford to buy a house $1 million rent. But why not get into it? People are not doing it because it's the fear of the unknown. We've done everything, but we are stuck with one thing now. We can't get to the land. The bank has approved, it's about to finance everything. everything, ama-plans we paid for the technical team. But fortunately, yesterday I got a call from the owner of the land. Are you still interested? I said, yes, I'm still interested. Though he gave me a sad feedback, this land has been sold, but the person who bought the land, he died. So the land is coming back to me. It was, so now with the project that we have started today, we are doing the damage control within the SU 100. I will be able, actually she was talking to me that how can you commit into a debt? You're telling $1 million, right? That's, you know what, this is going to take confidence because I want this. How do I get to it? I don't care. From the project, yes, we are going to deliver 5 houses a week and we are going to invoice those houses. That means every fortnight we have a target of 10 houses to invoice. From that payment, we are taking 50,000 we are paying, which means in a month we will have 100,000 to pay for the site. I need to commit to this land. I need to commit to the strategy to get this land paid for without taking it on the cartel. When we have already taken a credit card to do a project last month. So I want the credit card paid up. Without action, things are not going to happen. That is me. I'm so passionate in my work, and we are also doing Ivukuzana in. I think we are the first ladies. We are going to put up a small shopping complex, Upper Stena. I'm not going to say much about it, with whereabouts, but we decided to partner with the owner of the land because we can't afford to buy the land. So we might as well. Fortunately, the owner of the land she's the princess, it's the lady. We said, I've got the land, but I don't know what to do with the land. I said, okay, bring the land. I know what to do with the land. And then the drawings have been approved this month. And then I'm tenants to see now, we've got buildings, we've got PEP, we've got 3 anchor tenants. So construction guys, and I would really motivate you to see, let's really take it by like this. Let's not take it for granted. This is our space, and we,
Thank you.
That's a nice motivation. It says, as a woman, you've got drive to do things because you have not let the pandemic stop you. And I love your story because you've just used whatever is available to you and negotiated your way out of it. Let us hear, other ladies, what have been your struggles during the last 5 months of COVID? It has been tough for all of us. Have you all managed well? Are your companies still operating? Are companies operating? Who's got a company that has had to lay people off? For 5 months you have not been working. Okay.
You can't get cement at the same price, everything. And for retailers, maybe it's better they can recover when they keep in the cost high than before. And you find that your project you're losing a lot. But we only started last month to start a security project. And then even if you try to go to the banks can't help you if you're on the credit bureau or something like that. I think that's the main problem. Even if we have a project, we can't have money to secure the projects. That's the main problem. I'm still struggling with my project because of the finances. Because the time was supposed to start was a lockdown and they're supposed to start now. It's difficult to get information. Whatever you calculate information.
It's a real story. Yes, Sissy, you had your mic on?
Construction kodwa futhi as well akuyona indawo ongahlala kuyo. Construction 16 years doing construction. Angaze ngiphelele ngibe nonyaka ngasebenzi. Kulesi sikhathi samanje kule project kaDaniel ngithola isimanga sokuthi i-COVID ishintshile. Angiboni ukuthi sisazobuya sithi go back ngey'nyawo zethu kwi-economy. Mhlawumbe singasho esicabanga ngayo, but isimo uma usibuka asisivumeli. Why ngisho nje? Izinto ey'ningi zisukile noma azisekho i-standard esisijwayele. Kushintshile. Ngizokhuluma nge-material. I-material asisenayo nje okuthiwa ngikhuluma ngothayela okuthiwa ula su-manufacturing. Sene-problem ye-material yokuthi umanufacture uthayela IPR. Tell me ukuthi njengoba imitha lakhona u-0.4 wakhona IPR uthi 283 rand. So i-material kodwa yokwenza wona awukho. So when isibuya okusho ukuthi sigijima la ko-500 imitha ekhuluma ngayo. Ilwayo ka-department yethu asahleli kuma-spec amadala. Number 1, number 2, meanwhile ama-department yethu o-engineer balanqena to go back kuma-customers. Befike be-check ukuthi i-material isithi. Then meanwhile i-department yethu awethu akhetha abantu aba-cheapest abazokwenza umsebenzi kuwo ongalokuphambili. Ngiyafisa nje ukuthi njengoba nisho ngiyayizwa impela amnandi lama-lokutshaleni siyawazamile kuphela, kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi amaningi abo angeke azaphumelele. Why? Because kuyiki anikwenzi ngempela nje, cha ngiyasho impela anikwenzi, kodwa ngiyathanda ukwenza, inkinga ikwenzi. 2, kuzomele mhlawumbe ama-department esibhekene nawo abahamba athi go back kuma-specifications. Number 2, bese ama-price up. Number 3, ubuyiswe lo mgomo woku-underquota ukuthi umu-underquota uyothatha. Ngoba sinabantu besifazane mhlawumbe 80% abanye bayinyanya i-construction. Why? Because ibangenise ikweleti yababulala ngokomoya. Why? Bangene ikweleti namagama abahambi bayathanda ukwenza umsebenzi, but bathi nebethi ukuze nami igama lami libe khona emsebenzini underquota. Ebese futhi bayabulawa ungabibikho umuntu ozoba nentshorensi. Ngithanda khona isithandwa sami sike sakhuluma ubaba uDungu uthe asikhuleke, ngase ngithanda leyo number 2 mentoring. Our department ayathanda ukukhuluma ngabantu besifazane ukuthi mabakhule kwi-construction, meanwhile baphathe ama-mentoring. And abekho hand-to-hand kubo. Yabona mengine-site kurare ukuthi ungafica umuntu ezothi hamba kanjani, ikuphi la une-challenge khona. Kodwa uzofica umuntu ozothi ngifuna umsebenzi. Ugcina usuthatha nalabantu ama-cheap labor ngoba u-underquotile. Angikho lapho nje ngiyakhosa kahle kahle kancane izimo esibhekene zayo. So now ngisengifaka-ke manje this thing kwi-project sengiqedile, but ngibanje u-COVID ngasengifaka ugathazi e-alumina the-material and i-price engangijaje ngayo isidamu. Ubani ongathi let's go back senze i-VM or sayithatha le projects again, but iyaphuthuma. Lami ngike ngisebenzele ukuthi igama lami sengiqedile, but ziningi izinto ezishayile kwi-COVID angeke siphinde sibe right. But we need abantu sizosebenza nabo bethi okay fine, this specification uma kade sinje asisehlisi noma sishintsha into engiphatha kabi kakhulu ngama-department siyathanda ukusetshenziswa abantu besifazane kube ngathi khona into ephumelela kanti kusebenzisa labo bantu besifazane abangama-individuals abaziwayo bese kuzothi labo ngempela abathandayo i-construction kodwa inkinga abaziyo hayi abasetshenziswa I will say izinto ezimbalwa mhlambe after COVID engathi uma sesikhulekile enibheke ama-programs noma lezi zinto iy'nkundla lezi singena kuzona like women's band laphana uma uzofanekisa ngenye nje inhlangano yabantu besifazane i-women something South Africa's construction women uyakhopha lapha sisi South uyakhopha lapha South when you join ngikhuluma-ke nangubheke uyangena kwi-construction akakazi asisebenza akanayo ngisho imali yokuthi i-capital yokuthi ngihlala uma usukhokhile laphana kuSouth ayikho i-rotation system yabantu besifazane abagonywayo but uma kukhona mina ngomi phambili ngizodla nabangani bami as a department mina nijikelisa now there is a Sawik sizoletha ama-project awu-15 all of those people abangazi abangenayo abafikayo and anibenisa-monitor ukuthi uma nibanikeze those projects athole obani yabona athole obani enzobani but nivele nithi nje hayi Sawik sivelise bese upresident wakho ayidlela nabangani kuyafanelisa ayidlele nabangani babo yabona bese kugcina kulimala laba balapho kuthiwa abagqomi sizohamba sihambe kwi-construction bephela abantu besifazane abaku-construction why because asigqunywanga kahle asitshalwanga kahle i-construction imnani i-construction iyakhulisa ukuthi okay ngikwi-construction but angikwazi ukuhlala i-construction kahle sisi ayikwenzeli i-profit but iyakhulisa so now ukuthi construction kufuna ukuthi ubuke i-future ukuthi sengila ku-construction but yini ngayenza construction there is lot kade bekhuluma management of what ama-building like sinama-building eswakhile without ukuthi sisetshenziswe ubani aseduze ne-airport abantu bayahlala lots of building amakhulu but sengiyasho nje ukuthi abantu besifazane be-construction bazobe nalo silinyazwa yini department right now there's lots of programs but ngiyazi ngine-show over 16 years ngine-show ukuthi kukhona abazobenefitha kukhona futhi abangeke bebenefitha futhi abangeke benawo umuntu ebese lokho ekubenefitha abantu abakhona so sine-challenge yalokho i-COVID isifundisile ukuthi singobantu mina angasho abantu mina ngifundisile ukuthi ngingubani ba-construction angikaze ngibe nabo abantu engithi angeke bese abayeke emsebenzini ngobani why I learn kwi-construction ukuthi kumele ube nesandla ngisho ngabe ungafisi ukusebenzisa ongeke usisebenzise obani abasifundisa lapho i-department yethu abasifundisi bonke lapha kodwa sitshele ukuthi we-agree finance iphatha kanjani ibeke lapha emgodlagodleni nayo uma sekuqhamuka izinkinga nje uyazi ukuthi wena kuthiwa project yenziwe hayi abantu bazokwazi ukusurvive nabantu bazokwazi ukwenza so nje kwi-COVID abanye mhlawumbe bengafunda okuningi because izinto ey'ningi ezinhle zenzekile kwi-COVID why ngisho njalo kwenza ukuthi siyibone ukuthi ugxile kangakanani kwinto oyithandayo yenza construction because i-construction ayinayo imali kangako ngoba sijahe sibuke laba abantu abangabesifazane sigijime sothenga imoto nathi sigijime sithenga imoto ezintsha sigijime sithenge nezimisho yini akekho umuntu osimenze ohlala ukuthi listen uma usuzofaka imali The project are 5 million, and then get put for 5 million to go. There is 70% for material. When I get to the project are 5 million, our own money. We also want to imagine person so you can't spend like very long telling our I think the crucial support of this person in Bobo in the South is criminal. Let us go back and see the which is a time in construction. Who must be time in construction? Let us go back to and see who needed this now. We are going to put as many of our property. Sima manager of property, put our credit issue upon. After 15,000 before, who be certificate. In the hands of 15,000. So, Mr. Kanajan, my department age, Mr. Kanajan, who your manager, put up the 75,000 before we figured out what's happened. Then he showed you what we call with I guess funding. Is it a department? It's in this number program as an everything okay. Again, it's only not only this only that send that. Governance in Ghana, it's necessary to the same year, listing at the number of properties. There is opportunities in property or construction to buy a vacant land. Vacant land, that should be. And this is about construction. Don't just say, oh, yeah, construction. For property. But there is a vacant land, not houses. Only 100,000. Call market. You go there, buy. Almost build the house. Build the house. Cash is again. No one says to cash is but I will a holiday house. Which would have construction? Which would this construction mean? In society. I can write a book, the construction, a book. That is to say, let us not see Mugabe again what an about. I will be able to show construction. Construction is water. Then, the shop, the guy was, late 25 years, or working there. We are can over 8 times. It's a good year of construction go back you know, James and COVID, I'm a professional, literary, everything visa. The king got returning up for 5,000 to sort of 10,000. Novella, what's better than my home? I'm a hardware. I established this. I think that's an issue in this by image. Yeah, we never consume. Let's have a hand only start at the sofa 500. It says 1,400 that is much money. 1,400. Or she's not about 7 but damn check up.
Thank you very much, Sisi. I would encourage you ukuthi uyibhale incwadi. Ngathi singafunda kakhulu. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please. Umama noNhlanhla kaMcanyana wamaphumulo. Ngihlale ngiyijefile ngizothulela nje ngiyilalele ngize ngihambe. Ngingasho ngolutho ngoba usho ukufana ukuthi awusho ngolutho. Ngiyasibiza ngizosibiza nokufika la ngisho ngangenza nje. Angikhulumi iqiniso. Last year sabizwa sasibhalitho. Nikhuluma zona lezi ndaba ezimnandi sajabula sathi kuze kufike ukuthina kuzoxoxe nathi. Uma senisibizile kwafika safonela kwathiwa asilethe asizothatha ama documents khona la. sizosubmitha ka-human settlement eThekwini kodwa kufuna kube umuntu one-NHBRC ozosubmit. Mina uma ngingasengibukela ezingane endlini ngisho ngeqolo nokuthi ingane zilandele emva kwami ukuthi zibe kwa-construction. Ezinye beyibuza sikhulisana zakhula zazangidlula ngaphambi yazo ukuthi kuyenzeka ukuthi isithombo sicheleleke kakhulu sidlule esinye zibe yifana. Ngiphatheka kabuhlungu ngendlela eyisimanga ngoba angisakwazi ukukhuthaza umntwana ukuthi mntanami iya construction kuyasebenzeka. Khona iy'ngane zami nje mina ngivele ngathamba niyofunda. Zisey'koleni ziyafunda ngoba ngokuthi hayi kusho ukuthi kusasa lezingane ayikho. One, NHBRC mina omdala ngade ngaba nawo kade nga-aplya ngayo. Uyoqhamuka amadoda sinamadoda laphayana uzokuthiwa ithi indoda mina sengibiziwe sengiyosebenza endaweni. Kule building yakho ayiduze kwami. Angibona yakhona. Angisho ukuthi ngibantshontshiwe. Kusenza amadoda. U-NHBRC wayo u-activate ngokuthi ezwa lezi ndaba ey'xoxwa thina sibaxoxela masifika abangamadoda ukuthi kade sendaba etheni ngathini. Uhlungu kwenza uthulukale emzimbeni monga isenzo senzekayo. Ngiyasho ukuthi sebenzile mhlawumbe uzongitshela ukuthi ungibizele lapho athi kuNonhlanhla ngabonakala ngisebenzela u-120,000. Yabo. Kukhona abantu abasebenzela amamiliyoni. Kune-project nje nami kade ngiyiqeda kwenye department bengasazi ukuthi ngiyiqeda kanjani. Izinto ze-plumbing zibiza lokhu ukuthi hayiza. Bafowethu sicela ukuthi manje lapha ngithu nisibizile nihamba la. Ngicabanga ukuthi labo makhosikazi kade lapha iwona siwabonile awu-10. Kodwa anabanye abantu abasele abangakwazi ukusho ukuthi abebengasho okukhulu ngaphezu kwethu. Ningajabulisa ukuthatha nihleli nathi la nikushile benifuna ukukusho. Yabo? Nithalile nasikuzwile iy'nhlungu zabo zomama abaphambi kwethu. I-COVID isibiza ukuthi ithe ifika yafika kufanele senze oma-returns. Silungise iy'nkampani zethu isikhathi sonyaka sokulungisa uvet intontoni. Awukwazi ukusubmitha kuvaliwe. Uma bevula kufuna kuphuma ama-document enithi asabe siwathatha ukuze sikwazi ukufuna eminye imisebenzi. Ufika nento expayile uyafektha uya-emaila kuvaliwe uyafika into yakho ihlala phambi kwetafula lomuntu nayo exakekele i-COVID. Into zakho zi-expayile. Or letter of good standing bakho kufanele ubenze ngemali engazofakwa umuntu nokulokhu kusebenza ukuthi ukhokhelele uzazikhokhela lezi zinto. Ngiyafisa ukuthi mhlawumbe maniphuma la kube ukuthi siyakwazi ukuphinde sixhumane nani ukuthi malisuka la senikuphi. Ngoba njengamanje ngifisa i-human settlement angitshele mina ukuthi ngathi ngihambisa la madokhumenti ami engangiwayiseThekwini. Akuphi nendawo ngangizula yini ngithi noma ngangiya ngoba kuthiwa ngiyizi. Ngiyayibona loo nto. Ngifisa ukuzwa lokho nje ukuthi ngangithuthuza yini ngoba mhlawumbe namanje ngizulile la. Sikusho kambi lokhu ngoba nani angithanda ukubuza mhlawumbe kodwa ngiyathanda ukubuza. Kodwa sikhipha okungaphakathi kuthini. Mhlawumbe ukuyicabanga ukuthi khona ama-advert angena la ama-emails kuthiwa kwa-public health funa senze ngenze njani wathele wathathe ngiyeke zivele ezinye iy'ngane zami ey'khona ngoba phela kukhona iy'ngane ezizalwa yimina khona abazokula athina sonke esiphiwe ukuvele nje sibe nakho konke bangabe besakhona labantu abaphambi kwami nami impilo yami sefuna ukuthi ngangade ngiwasha nge-sunlight iphithe funa ngibuyele eqhuzwini ngiyogeza nge-nails amagoda ami bafethu sicela impendulo. Siyabonga.
I love ukuthi we are honest in our contributions because that is the reason esithe asize sizohlala nani so that masibhala amaphepha ema-ofisini we get to understand ukuthi kwenzakalani. Yes, safika last year sasho ukuthi kuzokwenzeka ukuthi nokuthi in as much as u-COVID nani unifake washintsha izinto nakuthi usafike wathi no. Let us look at how we need to change. This is precisely the reason we said, let us meet with women contractors and say, here is COVID changing. Yonke lento sasithi siyayiplana last year. sizokwenza kanjani ukuthi going forward si-assistane. You've already given us ukuthi let's go back and review our specifications of our project, because I believe no government department has done that. Sivele sabuka sathi okay, lockdown usathe upresident singaqhubeka sebenze, and we started from there kule ndawo beshiye kuyo ngo-26 March. So now it's a call to say no, let us go back. And it's something that even us as government, ifuneka sibuyele back to our leadership and say, MEC, please, sicela ukhulume no premier khulume no president ukuthi here is something that is affecting the construction industry, especially women. Ukuthi projects azisaqhubeki, not because they don't want to, but the prices have gone up. Even now, if I want to buy paint for umuzi wami, I can see ukuthi isinyukile price. So it's a fact that government in its entirety kufuneka ibuke. We have to go to the Department of Trade and Industry and say, are you looking at what is happening? Because what happens there has an impact, it will affect the rest of the chain. So, Mama, we are not offended at all to say, we don't mind, but we are here to say, let us empower each other. Let us change them. That is why we have policy units in departments that say, okay, we had a program called Reconstruction and Development Program in 1994. Over the years, we've had different programs. As in interest years was to grow abantu. Now, as human settlements, we moved into a category which was BNG, we are breaking new ground. Is that program really, truly breaking new ground? So it's things that we need to talk about and say, okay, going forward, what are we going to do? We have ASISWA and SIACA. Are these programs working? If we need to review these programs, advise us as we are sitting here and say, look, I've been on ASISWA maybe for the last 2 years. I have not benefited. Maybe there is something that we as government can change and say, this is a loophole that is not working. Let's go back to the drawing board and review such things. So, I'm happy if niyakhuluma nathi so that we know what we need to do. I see hands. I will start with you, Sisi, and I'll follow up with you.
Okuningi sekubaliwe, then ngizofika kulokhu ka-public works lo development program. Angi-understand kuyasebenza mhlawumbe kubona angazi, kodwa mina selo ngangena khona ngo-2015 kuze kube yimanje. Kodwa uma ukuthi uya ka-public works for lo msebenzi, you have to bid njengawo wonke umuntu obidayo. Uthole uma uthole ungatholi uma ungatholi, kodwa i-progress yawo angiyitholi kahle. Hhayi ukuthi mina ngedwa ngiyayazi ngihlale ngiyakhona ngijwayele futhi ukuya ka-public works. So angiwuboni umehluko otheni ngale sizwe kakhulu. Mhlawumbe khona umehluko engingawenza ngazi, kodwa ngathi ngizale umehluko. Okwesibili, khona-ke bakushilo okwama-prizes ukuthi anyukile. So ngenkathi ivalo i-COVID, khona-ke ukuncane ababenginike kona public works law. Yebo. Kodwa babethu-ke engikucelayo, ngiyazi abantu abaningi abafuna ukusho lokho ukuthi uma usuthola umsebenzi sekhona abantu asebekuhlelile ngemuva manje. Nabo sebeyayifuna-ke le mali. Uma ungakhokhile sekukhulunywa ngawe office from ngala kuze kuyophunywa ngala ukuthi loya ngingamniki ngoba kakhokho. Really guys, thina siphila ngayo le. And usengahlala for 3-4 months ungasebenzi. Uzoyisenza kanjani imali? Vele bayefuna bayasebenza bayahola, kodwa le mali bayafuna futhi bona. Abanye ndaba ukuthola umsebenzi wenze kanjani, imali uyithathephi kanjani. Kodwa uma usuthole leyo professional usakwazi nokubeka ngisho isentence. ngobani bayifuna nobani uyafuna yabo njengoba manje kukhula kwe-COVID ikhona sibe nenhlangano yokuthi sibizwe-ke nentombazana noma bephuthuma kusho thola kuma-project kwathiwa fanele siyenze within 1 month. Hayi uqabala abantu belandelana bonke bayefuna le mali siyohlala phansi ikhaya noma sicela ngasala ngaphela kwenzakalani lana yini thina soqala nayo uma ukuthi abantu baphithima kunana nale mali manje izilike isiphiwe thina nomsebenzi kodwa manje sokubidelile lo msebenzi sawuthola first kwena kodwa manje fanele sidle nabo and ngisho ukudla kwabo ku-unreasonable ngale ndlela yokuthi izilike uma uthola umsebenzi nje abantu seyazi ukuthi i-project yami mina fanele ngidle and leyo nto angazi kumanye ama-department kodwa u-public works uwest uwest ngale ndlela so ngempela ngempela makuthi ake nisicabangele ngalezo uyafika nomuntu ayishoyo nje ayijambulele nje and uma unqaba uzoyokhuluma ngayo ku-office sebetshelana ukuthi hayi ubani akafuni ukukhokha ukungcono ubani hayi ngeke ngicela ukuma lapho kwanga
no bengifuna ukufeda kancane sisingapha ngicela u-CIDP kune-program leka 3 years ukuthi homology stage kana 3 years then after 3 years ngicela bandla nisicelele ngoba vele u-CIDP wafika kahle kahle ngo-public works osuphuma waba le-techno sicela u-5 years sicela 5 years angazi from seku-5 years once how 5 years to go on sicela 5 years nje bese dothi sicela usazi ukuthi sicela ukuthi njengoba bekade ngisho ukuthi enambeni emuva eniyeke lento ye-tax yokuthi nithi nifuna certificate okay yazi sekufunakala iphini ofanele sibhale but amanye ama-document when you read iyasho ukuthi tax certificate and pin yabona so asisaphumi certificate kwa-SARS lesi se-tax sekuphuma certificate se-pin yodwa siyacela bakithi nakhona ni-reviewa ama-document enu ingalokhu niphothokofa ngoba ayasididisa ebese ngiya ka-Department of Labor uthi u-Labor usebenzile noma usebenzile khokha inkinga yami la ngikhokhele ini ngoba basebenzi ngidamisile asinabo ama-projects ngiyacela nala angabi yinto esibambayo ukuthi sinayo i-letter of good standing because njengamanje njengoba kunje akekho umuntu osebenzayo so good standing man ngoba phela I have to pay abantu u-IF umuntu emengekho uzokhokha kanjani nina nifike nibabiza abantu besifazane nithi wozani nizobida wazi uba kodwa on the document sebefidile nangu CID kulo fanakazana kule uthi-ke ufuna isitifiketi engaleni engenayo ingane engenayo la inabapha abasebenzi ngiyacela abantu ukuthi nabo ake besiqedisele noma-ke nivume nani nibhale phansi on document ukuthi uma ungenaso isitifiketi submit letter of tender bayayikhipha-ke kabili bese siyasubmit noma isitifiketi sakho uma si-expire i-submit letter of tender ngicela lokho bese kuzothi-ke into kade sho sis ama-document ye-ASIS angazi noma kuzoba i-solution noma i-staff comment nobona ukuthi kuyikhona sicela nisenzele public works kakhulu mhlawumbe naye usiyakha ubaba usiyakhala engabe mhlawumbe naye usiyakha ema-benefits sicela ukuthi u-public works angithi uyazi ukuthi unama-project abangakanani okufanele awalokhunje ngalokhu sicela kuhlukaniswe manje ku-ASIS if abantu besifazane kunama-projects awu-50 elembeni kafanelisi sicela ukuthi kushiwo kuthiwa lawo awabantu besifazane like women ebese kuzothi lawo awabantu besifazane kodwa bancane youth. Why ngisho njalo? Because ngimdala ngizofaka ngishawe ugele ngamaphondo. Ngigcina mina angisabhenefiti, angithi ngitheni na women, angihlukanisanga ukuthi women onjalo, women onjalo. Women lona asabhenefiti, sekubhenefiti ingane futhi lokhu ibhenefita yona yona. Uyabona? So siyacela ukuthi ekehlukane kanjani, ekesezothi amadoda awabe wodwa embanikeze lo-5%, embanikeze ngabo 5%, but ngiyacela ukuthi keniyenze leyo. Kufana noma uSiyakha kule program akhuluma ngayo. Angeke sumise award opportunity ena nesisenzo kwi-state. Again, award besebenza show ukuthi women amadala amelelekile. Women abancane youth amelelekile. Then you say ngaqhubeka nabanye and disabled as well. Disabled umuntu wesifazane naye umelelekile, disabled umuntu wesilisa umelelekile as well. Ngoba i-problem nivele nisuke nithathe kwi-deep. Ugcina uma sekwi-deep u-15% wabesifazane. The rest bantu besilisa. I-corruption ntalama isibulele. Bahlale beyiqula ukuthi corruption. Isibulele i-corruption. Why? Sibulawa bafethu ngiyathanda ukwenza lama-program mahle, mina ngilokhu ngisho amnandi manje. Kodwa inkinga kungena umntakabantu. Yebo. Mahle impela awa-right. Yabona uma ngasithiwa afe singaba right. Yabona njengamanje sesibulawa yile nto yo-youth. So youth league. Hawu kodwa lo-youth league. Kanjani ngoba sigcwalisile? So kanibala ngiyakusho impela. Uthola o-youth league, uthola obani, uthola obani. Uthola abantu abazana bodwa. So siyacela bakithi. U-public works. Nayo i-human settlement ngoba nakhona i-corruption ekhona. Sicela ukuthi nje kelethi uma sebenzile yonke into bese beyakuba nomuntu akazi uzoqasha kanjani nomuntu oyimele. Oyimele. Ozohamba nje angenelela ama-officials ukuthi lokhu kwenzeke ngendlela. Ngoba silambile ikhona imisebenzi impela awondayi u-Department ekhipha sisemsebenzi ikhona kodwa inkinga i-corruption. Noma kusufikile wawuthola umsebenzi ekuthiwa khokha cha mina ngikhokhe kanjalo ngike ngimbuza ukuthi ngikhokha kephi ngoba la nansi anokwenza njalo la nimdrafte nanibethere u-7%. Nansi yabasebenzi ba-100% eyakhe iphuma nonsina. Ngisho njalo nje noma-ke bayavala ukuthi bephinde be-invite ngiyabazi kodwa uphinde uye khona ukuthi angi-invite nginenkani ngiyaye phela ngiphenye kodwa nje bafethu siyacela izinto zemishoyo zingasikhululelisa but sicela sikuhambile impela.
Thank you. Yebo sisi.
Sanibona. Hello, Asibisi. Kahle ngithuki. Manje ngoba umuntu ongithumile nami ngenkampani yami sithinteka into endibonakala. So ngingena under EU i-major cry so to say ama-lowest bidder njengoba kushiwo nama-grades nama-levels e-BA. Like lowest bidder, as much as my company is alive, I can't go and work because I ngibhide low, but khona ubhide low ngampela nami. Wawuthola eseke wawuthola for usininzi. And i-flourish ayikho because uzohluleka.
Yeah.
Ngeke bangibize mina ngoba ngizoqala kanjani nginganayo. And another thing yama-grades ukuthi can it not be ukuthi mhlambe mabethi from let's say for CIBD khona grade 1 if I'm not mistaken. Can it not be ukuthi inkampani inika umsebenzi ewu-5 if you grade 2? If that makes sense, then if uwedwa uthola umsebenzi that is more than 5, ulokhu ekubizwe wena nje, ulokhu ekubizwe wena mina ngiqhubeke nokuhlala ekhaya ngingatholanga umsebenzi. Angazi noma do I make sense?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, and then same as 11. like my company don't actually put to harvest all SARS it's stuck. It's stagnant. I want to work, I want to be in the industry. But because of the hindrances that are within my getting an opportunity, just like anyone else through these levels, can it not be more than then it shifts, open doors to my company so that I can also get a shift and I'm to another level.
Okay, I can hear you. We are warming up and yet we are almost at the end of our session, but I will allow a few more hands so that we can wrap up and have resolutions to our session. Ngicela sisingasemuva.
ASCs were the last application everywhere they invited last year. We have never been captured, and that is causing us to what is going on there. But you can't tell database, yes, but you are not there, but we're far on time. It's been a year, man, that it's not capturing what's going on. Abanye bantu basala abasebenzi ema-ofisini abakhetha imisebenzi basisubmithile hayi lokufika ngoba we have proof and we are doing follow up. My last time ngikwa-public works ngabuza ukuthi ngenze njani angifake i-proof ukuthi bengikade ngilokhu. But that is not going to help me ngoba basebenza ngomuntu one-database number. So which means I'm just wasting my time saying ngenze i-document yawa-ASCs ngibe ngingakhetharishiwe. Ufake i-proof yokuthi ngayifake i-application but I still don't have the registration number. So we are just stuck the whole year.
Okay.
So we can't follow any, but there's no other one
No, what we'll do, we'll get Udeli to respond to the questions before Sival. So uzonike clarity. Yes, sis, you can go ahead. Look off your mic, sis.
But what's this story? But like I'm also copying for now. I said that we you can find document that check also for filing the miscellaneous document. I will in the pictures to the number of for me season in one the website. That means I have document. But now I have since 2015 in India and I have insurance service as well as the I'm going to training but any things and which is the department police and exploitation. Private companies sometimes wants to make a document so buy fees and plans. But and then from there we are also with the notes of private department serious was very well functioned. We are called to some document as as part of private. We don't have some service corner. And then last year, when the Yokuzana in the appeal, the October, I don't know our October, so there's about 3 days for the kids. You don't feel the class, and don't motivate our but because it's another that's a process of teaching. But then I just did not make it see. Company was appointed thina subcontractor companies angazi noma sikhuliswa ngendlela
Okay, thank you. I will take the last comment so that we can allow presenters to respond to the key issues so respond and then we'll do resolutions.
ya-awardwa. Nawumsebenziseni awadiwe, uya-assemble nayo yonke into. Then ngokuhamba kwesikhathi aninawo usubhizi uyihlanganisa imali, uyihlanganisa yonke into. Usuzobizwa e-ofisi. Awutsheliwe lutho usuzotshela ukuthi umsebenzi uphathekile. Kodwa wena kade wehla kwenyuka wena wazi ukuthi uyongena nesayitini uyoqala umsebenzi wena. And bakuhamba and collected abanankinga nawo ukuthi wena uyisafarisha ngayiphi indlela. Ibona kade befuna amasampuli azozonke lezi zinto. Wena kade bezigijimisa kodwa mase bekhansela abasenandaba nawo. And azihambi mahhala ngicela ukukhuzela ngoba kufanele bayona emasayitini ba-check ukuthi lo msebenzi oyowenza khona yini. Not ukuthi nanalo ungawathatha ama-measurement kwabo. Bafike lapho bathi hamba for instance uyokwenza fencing, the simple thing ufake isondo nje ungawubuzi. Uyafika laphaya i-measurement ebhalwe phansi is 210 kodwa uma ufika laphaya u-120. Yabela lo muntu kwewaya kule site noma akazayo. Omunye inspector uzakubuza i-direction ukuthi uma uza lapho uhamba umbuza kanjani direction othi uhamba kumamisa lapho ku-project yakho abantwana ukwazi uzukala le nto. So
okay, thank you very much, ladies, for your contributions. We really appreciate them, and it's something that we will use going forward. I will just allow our presenters to respond to the few items that need a response manje. Then we will do resolutions and wrap up our session.
No, thank you very much, Program Director. Only unknown lots and Zamu will respond because at least the questions on our side were fair. I think, as we said, ours would be to take input so that we can go back and, customize Lama programs. But maybe I think on questions where Mama wants to know progress in terms of USIAC, Program Director, we actually wanted to finish by before end of March to evaluate Yonkin. In first evaluation of SVM compliance, we had finalized, but we also had to check NHPRC and Kalambosama one on our phone. So, what's the lockdown? It's not but just to report here that I think as it is reflected in the report, we have now finalized our evaluations, and we are recommending whoever has been successful to bid adjudication for approval. Then in the next 2 weeks or 3, we will then advertise abantu who have been successful in the SIACA, who will be working within the next 3 years. So I was on that application, and I think Stalo Tinindesi appreciates our colleagues. The fact that I think even our engagement with the women-owned businesses is improving. If we remember what happened in last year, images has it all. These departments are not looking at my issues of women. But if you look at what was said then and what is being said now, as much as there continue to be more frustrations now, what you can see that even from our side as some departments, we are trying to reach out and make sure that whatever we're saying, even though it may look nice, but it's some who we implement, so that we're not just saying to just say isn't the. Then, in terms of the implementation of SIAC, I think what we said last time is that we want to create a panel for subcontracting purposes, but you will see, that's why I present a legislative framework today, to say that it is permissible that we can even put away our budget for developmental processes. So in our department, we have those priority programs. What we've said is that we will be taking some of those and package them so that it will benefit some companies. So it will not only just be subcontracting, but there will be specific developmental projects as well. And then I think just to comment on program director, just to comment, I think the issue of monitoring is of our programs and projects is very important. So I think last year when we first introduced lender incubation, what we were saying was that issue rotation will also be important, because at the end of the day, Melissa appreciated program director dates. This is a developmental program.
Yeah.
So it can't be now that only one company or certain few companies are only benefiting. In fact, it is for that reason that as part of the processes this SIACA is that we have a rotation policy as a developer, so that whoever has benefited then does not keep on benefiting all the time. And I think in terms of monitoring, commenting on the grade. Remember, we also need to monitor whether we are empowering businesses and are they growing. In one of the areas of measuring e-growth would be to check whether one has moved from CIDP level 1 to 2. So it cannot be that then we give you 7 to level 1 and you continue to sit on level 1. So that will be monitored. So that I want to do not decide that no, I will just not go back and notify CIDP because we from level 3 and keep on benefiting the new ones.
Thank you. We will talk to Public Works and AAC's Work Contractor Development Program.
Thank you, Program Director. Maybe first to appreciate abantu besifazane abaku le session. In fact, I just want to concur with my colleague, Mr. Ntlonzi, or respond ukuthi kahle. I think the program director said the same thing. We do not take offense, but rather see yafunda from such sessions. In fact, that is why we are even having these sessions at the first place, to say imaphi amaphutha esiwabonile and how do we best improve from lawo maphutha. So we do take so we've noted questions as well as our comments are raised kule ndawo. Especially ati as we move as the department siyibheke. And again, I just want to highlight ukuthi ku-raiswe indaba yokuthi abanye bathi UACs, they've never benefited. We are aware as a department of such lentuzana ukuthi kukhona uthola ukuthi kubanga program njengoba ngishilo mengiqala presentation ukuthi we've got about 3,157 in the current phase 2 esinawo. But it's time we introduce phase 3 sathi let's do an analysis ukuthi kulaba ade sebe bengenile kwi database iziphi izinto esingayi-improve, hence introduce phase 3. I want to report kule session ukuthi bakhona ade besho ukuthi bafakile ama-applications as from last year. We are at an advanced stage of finalizing. In fact, ingenile kwi-BAC namhlanje indaba yofinalize phase 3. We should be kickstarting phase 3 kulentuzana by mid-September. But izinto ke esithe siyazama uku-improve kuzona ku-phase 3 ezinye ekwama izinto ey'raisiwe la. Number 1, it's the issue of strengthenisha indaba ye-rotation sifakiwe as part of phase 3. Number two, issue yokuthi let's localize indaba yokuthola kwama-project as well as competitive downgrading, whereby we are saying let's allow for ama-grades acisha lingana ukuthi akwazi ukukhompyutha wodwa, because it is not fair ukuthi ugrade 6 akhompyuthe no-grade 1 because of the experience and as well as izinto asebe-exposed kuzona. So those are all the policy reviews that we are engaging in as a department in order to improve njengoba siya ku-phase 3. So we are hoping ukuthi as we enter ku-phase 3 ziningi ezinye izinto esizo-address. I'm not saying the program is going to be perfect. Obviously there's always room to improve and there's always room ukuthi senze kangcono, and hence lama sessions are important for us to say let us go back and check ukuthi iziphi ezinye izinto mhlawumbe esingakazi address edinga ukuthi si-address so that siyibone the true empowerment and the radical economic transformation esikhuluma ngayo. And then again from i-summit last day khona ezinye izinto ezayireziwe. I did mention kwi-presentation ukuthi as a department with the financial year for the first time we have identified ukuthi sifuna ama-projects athize aye specific to the different designated groups, and lento yafakwa kwi-annual performance plan ye-department so that we can properly monitor ngempela ukuthi mesithi lama projects aya kubantu besifazane ngempela yini leyo nto yenzekile, mesithi aya kwi-youth aya kwi-youth. But again we are taking input uma ukhuluma ngokuthi maybe let's further disaggregate i-women yethu singathi mesithi women sikade sikhuluma umuntu oyi-youth as well as umdala, because again there's an unfair balance. So we are taking those inputs maybe as a department let's go back and say ngempela mesithi women babaleke bonke umuntu oyi-youth siyazi usiyabenefits ukuba youth aphinde benefits ukuba women, so by the virtue of that to get some more points uthola ukuthi use-disadvantage or old. So lezo zinto siyayithatha as i-department. And then again issue ephinde yarazwa, there are processes okulandelela if the issues of corruption akhona kuma-department. So okay, I would not want to respond directly right now because I don't think I'm fit to pendula izinto ngoba usithola ukuthi ama-allegations are pointed at certain people, but I'm saying there are channels within our department to report such so that they can be properly investigated and followed up ukuze uthole ukuthi lezo zinto ziya-addresswa. But again, the point sometimes it takes us as women to stand up for our rights. City, no, for instance, there are implications thereafter. We are valid, but now let's follow up on this. So we do have platforms and channels to raise such issues within the department and investigate. There are cases of total and guilty right. So there are channels in I'm encouraging women here let's follow the right channels ukuthi si-report lezi zinto singathuli nazo sisodwa emakhaya ukuthi namabhizinisi ethu awasekho sustainable sesibuyele emuva sithi siyaqala ngoba asikwazanga ukuthi silandele ama-channels right ukuthi si-report lezi zinto ukuze zi-addresseke and then si-empowerisheke amabhizinisi ethu. Inhloso yama-departments ukuthi we want to see empowerment and true empowerment and radical economic transformation, but sikwenza ngokuhlangana, sikwenza ngokuthi sibambisane and then sibone igoli achieveka. If there are things that esingarespondanga kahle, we are available to sikhulume even after this session, but again njengoba program director, we shall resolve on certain issues so that we can take them back to the department and sisebenza nabanye so that si-channel even to the right programs ukuthi lezo zinto zikwazi uku-addresseka. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you. We've now come to the end of our session, and I must say it has been a fruitful session. We have spent our morning but I will just talk to our resolutions. What will happen? We will tabulate and have a record of this session. They will go back to UMEC because this is a program sanctioned by her as an executive authority. When we leave here, we will prepare a report indicating these are the resolutions. What that helps with Uguti, we periodically report on all commitments. Since last year, on all summits, even in Nale Yase Palito, we have to report on the progress. So it's not a case yokuthi sizoshiya nje kanjalo. Even when we meet next time, sizobuya siqale sithi when we met on this day, sakhuluma sathi, so that even now when she comes back and has another women's session, she will come back and say, these are the resolutions that we had. But I will just go through a few of these resolutions so that we all agree. One of the issues that we raised coming from, resulting from COVID is the impact of escalated costs of materials. What the resolution of this committee is saying is that departments must go back, review specifications and project costs. Then we will see how we still manage to do our projects. So that is resolution number 1 that has been captured. Another resolution is the appointment of the lowest bidder. Let us do a proper evaluation whether the price offered by a person is really feasible and not just appoint because it is the lowest. I know of cases where people have underquoted and the projects have failed due to that. So it is upon us to do proper evaluations in our bid committees. Another resolution is when it comes to the appointment of women and women contractors, we should ensure that we do proper mentoring, coaching, and training of contractors. So that is something that will go on to our plans. We will have to record how many contractors we actually take through professional business training so that they're able to manage their finances. Also look at rotation of work. I think that has been said by many in this session that we should look at the companies that benefit. Let us not just say we've appointed so many companies that are women-owned, but let us look at whether we are appointing the same companies over and over, ensure that we will rotate work allocation. Also, when we are doing what we are doing, let us have programs that are specifically targeting new entrants that have no experience, no financial muscle to start with construction. As Mhlambe Untlozi was looking at a program, what are we going to do? There might be cases where we'll be saying start with a bit of subcontracting because you don't have the muscle. Then as you grow, so we will actually segregate the programs that we offer. We will have programs for new entrants in the market, for those also that are a bit established, have a bit of experience, and the well-established contractors. Also, key issues that are related to other areas within our space, CIDB, requirements and the validity of registration in particular grades. We will have discussions with CIDB and see how we can work around it within the legislative framework. Also, our tender documents, we will look at the requirements for tax clearance certificates. I am aware that there is no longer a need for the paper certificate. We'll have to just look at the documents that are produced by our SCM components, whether they have captured new regulations. Also, the Department of Labor letter of good standing that is required. We will look at what is available, what is the available avenue in terms of the legislation where it is not required. And also we'll engage maybe with the Department of Labor and see what are the best ways that are possible for us to remove this burden from contractors. I think some of the issues are project cancellations, where you've already spent resources working on getting your work on a project and also trying to ensure that you've got the financial muscle and materials So it's not nice when you just get a project cancellation. Let us see how departments handle this process, and we have platforms to engage with contractors. The last one I will deal with is the issue of corruption. I think even at every address, the president has said that corruption is not acceptable. Whether it is done by a politician, whether it is done by a government official, and there are avenues. I support a view that says if you find yourself in a case where someone is asking for a bribe or something, please, in every department, if you are scared of the particular person, you may furnish that information anonymously to the head of department or even to the office of the MEC if you feel that officials are asking for bribes. There are avenues. You may not even say your name, but just to say there is an official so-and-so who is asking for lunch money each and every time I come to submit an invoice. Because as government officials, we are getting paid for the work that we do. My sitting here, I am paid for the time that I'm spending with you. So there is no reason, and it is not acceptable. There will never be a case where it is government policy for officials to ask for bribes. So you have avenues that are open. If you feel that the department will not take your query seriously, it can be escalated even to the office of the Premier. There are hotlines that are there that you can call and just report that so-and-so department, there is an issue that needs to be attended. Even at SAPS, there are HAWKs, there are various investigative areas that you can report. So do not for 1 minute be scared, because sometimes people are just taking chances with you. Because you are a woman, they will say, oh, let me take a chance and see if I can get something out of this. So it's time for us ladies to take a stand, even if it's one official that is a woman as well, saying, I need you to buy me something for me to process your invoice. Do not do it. Stand your ground and report officials that are asking for bribes. Even if it's just a Coke of 20 rands. People normally say, I'm taking a drink. That drink is wrong. You are not supposed to be paying officials for anything. Ladies, what we will do is we will end our session, and I must say thank you very much for your time. We will have the Chief Director from the Department of Public Works coming to give us a vote of thanks for our time that we have spent here. Okay, we'll just have the camera transformed to the Chief Director.
Thank you, Program Director, Facilitator. I hope I'm audible enough. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Dlamini, you are loud and clear.
Thank you, Facilitator. Our MEC in absentia, all our participants and colleagues in this very important program, SENZA, during the Women's Month. We also, as a department, would like to start by congratulating Abantu Besifazane who have taken a responsibility of being a gule sector, a construction which is perceived as male-dominated. That is a decision and it's not going to be easy being in this space. But as a department, we are here and we really commit ourselves ekutheni sikwazi ukubambisana nani
and work with you. We must have a spirit of working as a team. Where there are challenges, let's share those challenges collectively. And when there are success stories, let's tell those stories collectively. Into ebalulekile as well is that this sector, abantu besifazane, they must not see themselves as competing with abantu besilisa, ngoba abantu besilisa nabo bazothatha posture of wanting to defend. But abantu besifazane must take a posture ethi they are occupying their rightful place in this sector. And I've seen many companies succeed that are led by abantu besifazane. There is nothing impossible, and they've shown us ukuthi they can actually do the work there equal to the task, which reminds us ukuthi abantu besifazane ibona abaphaver indlela for us as a country to be where we are today. Obviously working with abanye abantu besilisa ababekhona, which reminds me of uMama Winnie Mandela, Charlotte Maxeke, Lillian Ngoyi, Rahima Musa, Albertina Sisulu, Helen Joseph, and many other females or abantu besifazane who took it upon themselves to fight the status quo. Now, there are concerns that have been raised. I was listening to those concerns that were raised by the female contractors. And having heard those concerns, and the program director, I heard you also summing up in terms of resolutions. We'll have to look at those resolutions very closely so that when we convene again in the following year, we are able to take stock to say how far are we in terms of the discussions and in terms of the resolutions that we have taken today. We want to also thank the MEC and our Premier for driving our province towards a direction that is so transformative. When you talk about the property sector, there are plans to transform that sector. That is as a result of the directive from both our Premier and the MEC for them to ensure that the status quo does not remain. Yes, the sector is male dominated, but females as well must be seen as also taking part, and in Bobewa's benefit from the billions that are invested by our government. Let me take this opportunity and thank our acting HOD, Ubabuduma, who came in as well and motivated us and gave the thoughts around the issue of empowering women that we are busy with as both Department of Human Settlements and Public Works. Ngimizwile ekhuluma ngokuthi samawele sincela kumama oyedwa, and we are fortunate ukuthi sincela kumama oyedwa who is very intelligent, who is equal to the task. I want to also take this opportunity and thank the actual contractors who are also participants, nalaba abanye abangakwazanga ukuba part of a program ekutheni bekwazi ukusebenzisana nathi as a department. But sicele nokuthi ke much as we are going to be opening some opportunities, singabheki i-profit and forget about the quality of a product lesikhiqizayo noma i-product esideliver at the end of the day, because i-credibility yomsebenzi owenzayo it will be judged upon what you have delivered, especially kubantu besifazane abantu bahlezi belindele ukuthi nizobabona bazofeyila, and thina ke as a department we are saying continue to make us proud and prove wrong laba bahlezi belindele izinto ezi negative. But having said that, without ukuthatha isikhathi esiningi, program director, I want to thank you and your team, Sisteli, as well, for ensuring that the program is a success, and also take this opportunity in conveying a message from the Department of Public Works, under this difficult conditions as beginning now with COVID-19, yes, there are difficulties, but as well, opportunities that are presented by the pandemic. So, singabuko negative, but let's take advantage of what is also positive ekushintsheni impilo zethu nabanye abantu zibe ngcono, sikwazi ukuhlala emakhaya sibe safe, sisanitize, siphume only when kunesidingo sokuthi siphume, singabe uvanzi ngoba i-Department yaka-Public Works and Human Settlements iyasidinga sonke, si-intact, and there is also life after COVID. Sibonga kakhulu, angathi inkosi ingaba nani, malibongwe igama lamakhosikazi.
Siyabonga kakhulu, Mr. Dlamini. We have had a very successful session. I think it is now time that we declare our session is officially closed. May you stay safe and stay home. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga.